Hello, everyone. Welcome to Feedstuffs 365. I'm Sarah Muirhead. At the heart of today's episode is a story about two respected North Carolina institutions and the people who built them. Mule City Specialty Feeds has fed the region's livestock since 1965, milling and mixing feed in Benson, North Carolina. Gaston Sealey Company, founded in 1951, has built and maintained grain handling, drying, storage systems that move farmers' crops from the combine to the bins for more than 1,700 farms and grain operations across the Carolinas. Now under single ownership, the goal is not to change what made them all both to be trusted out there in the market, but to connect them and broaden what they do for farmers and producers who depend on them. Joining us to share the future vision behind this new connection is Matt Matros, owner of both Mule City and Gaston Sealey, Velvet Sealey, former owner of Gaston Sealey, and Mason Judy, general manager and partner at Gaston Sealey. Welcome to you all. Thank you for being here today.
We're very grateful for the coverage. Thank you so much for this. I'm really excited about telling Velvet's story and letting you guys see what Mason has in store for us down here.
For those of you that are joining us online, feel free to post any questions that you might have there in your chat on your screen. If you're joining us from social media, you can post your question directly in your social feed. So let's start by having each of you in a real quick format. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Matt, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm a New York-based entrepreneur. I've been in the food system for, 20 years. I first started at Kraft Foods and brand management on Kraft cheese, and that's what got me into the food system. And then I started a business of my own. I took all my money, all my life savings, and ran up my credit cards and got some SBA funds to open up a healthy food, fast food restaurant in Chicago called Protein Bar. Grew that to about 30 locations across the country. Sold it to a private equity firm. We still have locations nationwide. I then got into agriculture through coffee. I started a business called Limitless Coffee, which I grew in Chicago and ended up selling to Keurig Dr. Pepper. And that's what got me into the food system. And for the last several years was really looking to get deeper into agriculture in a way that was unique to me. I live in New York, so it's a little bit harder for me to do from Brooklyn, New York, but wanted to focus on growth markets. So was looking at growth markets mostly down south, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and found a feed mill, a mill that had been open since 1965 called Mule City Specialty Feeds right outside of Raleigh, Durham, and fell in love with Paul Dunn, the second generation owner of the business, and what he had done. What he really did brilliantly at Mule City Feeds was bespoke feed. So really custom feed for owners of all livestock, pigs, chickens, cows. We even have some ostrich and zebra that we feed, and llamas, and also horse feed. So Paul built a beautiful business with Mule City Specialty Feeds in Benson. And then after operating it for a while with Mason, who joined us from On Air Foods, we found Gaston Sealey, which was a remarkable business that's been around for 75 years. Velvet, who you'll meet in a second generation owner of the business. It's the Southeast's leading distributor of GSI grain bins and Westfield augers, as well as a few other manufacturers that we work with. The business that her father started, and her brother have taken it over. And me and Mason said, we want to take this thing and make it last for the next 75 years. So that's sort of where we are today. We closed on the business last month, and we're pretty excited about everything that they've built and what we can do with it.
Very exciting. Velvet, why don't you give us a little bit of your background? Matt kind of set that stage for you.
Okay. I grew up in the agricultural business simply by being here. My parents were wholesale distributors for a quality style of agriculture equipment. My father focused on grain handling and grain storage equipment, and that's where really he got his start. Like Matt said, our family's been in business since 1951, and we grew up in it. We continued in it in our adult life. Now there is one brother and myself left. And because of age, we decided it was time for us to share this with somebody else and move on. Fortunately, Matt and Mason have become a large part of the business, and now they have
Did Velvet go?
Yeah, I think Velvet, we lost Velvet here. Then why don't you jump in and give us your.
She looks lovely while frozen on my screen, at least. I'm not sure about you. Mason, take it over.
I'll jump in and fill in. So I started in high school working on a poultry research farm, and that got me sort of into the poultry and feed industry. I went to NC State for poultry science and feed milling and continued to work on the farm through college. I ended up spending about 5 years there, working on and off through school as I could. And then I came out and went through Mount Air Farms management trainee program. I was with them for a little bit over a year. Somewhere in there, I did an internship with Paul at Mule City Feeds, and it was only about a 2-week internship. But when I started at Mount Air Farms, the month after I started, he started calling me, asking sort of what the future was looking like for me. And we would talk about every month, and I'd go visit him on occasion down at the mill. And eventually he talked me into coming on with Matt at the transition and taking over the mill. Over the past year, I've worked there and learned a lot about feed milling, and coming from Mount Air to Mule City, that was a big change because it went everything manual. It was, you were in it. You were keeping things running. You were the one finding the equipment to keep it running. And I think that sort of transitioned well into this business with the equipment supply. So now I've been here for about a month, and I'm looking forward to what we can do moving forward.
Very good. So Matt, what made Mule City and Gaston, Sealey such trusted names in their communities, and what do you most want to protect here when you acquire them?
The thing I most want to protect is the owner's presence, right? So what made Mule City so special was that Paul cared, and he touched every customer that came through the door, whether it was a pig farmer or a backyard chicken homesteader. He really cared about each and every animal, but he had that because he was the owner of the business through and through. And then through Fit and Velvet here in Gaston, Sealey, they've cared because their name is literally on the door. Well, their father's name is on the door, their last name is on the door. So they had that owner's care. And that's a really hard thing to replicate, is ownership presence and ownership care and tenderness. And that's why I was very glad to be able to buy this business with Mason, to have him take this on for the next generation or two. But the most important thing for us at both Mule City and Gaston Sealey is just not to mess up the wonderful 70-plus decade or 70-year legacy that both businesses have built.
So how do you
it's
do
really
that?
hard for us to do. So that's really hard for us. I will tell you, with Mule City, I came in guns a-blazing. So I bought the thing back April of 2025, and here I am, this, slick-haired New Yorker wearing tennis shoes, thought I was super cool, and went into rural North Carolina, thought I was going to make all these whiz-bang changes, and kind of learned the hard way that I needed to slow my roll a little bit, mostly because not all change for the sake of making changes is good. And secondly, because I needed to remember I wasn't as smart as I thought I was, and the folks that were working at Mule City or Gaston City weren't as dumb as I thought they were. I really needed to respect the fact that they had been doing it for a long, long, long time. And I'm now applying those learnings, if you will, from the last year to Gaston Sealey, taking our time, being patient, doing what's right for the customer. In our instance, it's North and South Carolina farmers, and really trying to focus on them and serving their needs. At Gaston, we like to say that we're in the continuity business. We help farmers continue to harvest. And we do this because we have a 140,000 square foot warehouse full of parts. So farmers don't need a part tomorrow, they need a part today. And that's where we really like to differentiate.
Yeah, parts are a big thing, especially when they're in the midst of harvest and such. So Velvet, as the former owner of Gaston Sealey, how important is it for you that the standards and services that have been established over the years remain a high priority for customers?
That was 100%. That is probably the first paragraph that Matt and I discussed when he came in and spoke to us about the possibility of him taking over the business. It was important to us. The name Gaston Sealey, it is indeed the name of my father, and his name hangs on the outside of the business. And that was one thing we stressed. what our customers have received since its inception is what we want to continue to be. And he assured me that that was what his intentions were. And we felt very comfortable with that, and listened to him, and believed him. And now we're going to see that it does take place.
She's watching you, Matt.
I know, watching over. Yeah, I told Velvet, I was like, even though she sold the business, we're business partners for the rest of our lives, right? Just because her name is on the wall, and I very much appreciate that.
Yeah. And that's how we're known. That's what made this business so successful is Dad's name. And if you are in agriculture, growing grain or having anything to do with grain in agribusiness, you know the name Gaston Sealey if you have any concept of grain production. So he's got a little bit of benefit there. He's just going to have to work it, and I'm sure he can.
Very good. So Mason, having worked at Mule City and now Gaston Sealey, what do these two operations, what do they have in common at their core?
Well, I think like Matt said, it's the continuity that's so important. At Mule City, I was hands-on keeping equipment running along with the guys there. And here it's sort of on the opposite side of it. How do we keep the customers running? It's not so much we're getting out there and keeping it running, but we keep parts stocked. We keep the equipment that they need to continue running. So that continuity factor, we know from running the mill what it means to be down for just 2 hours. So we know when a customer comes through the door and they've been down trying to fix something, we know what that means because we've been in their shoes. So we're doing everything we can to benefit the farmer, benefit the grain elevators, benefit the feed mills. We want to have what they need when they need it.
Very true. And a feed mill is down for an hour or two, it's a big deal, and same with farmers. So do you think, Mason, and kind of the interactions you've had probably out there talking about this, that most people have any kind of connection, that immediate connection, say, between a feed mill and a grain equipment company, and why do they belong together? Do they kind of struggle to understand that, or do you think they're like, oh, I get this?
I think there's a little bit of both. I think it's important to have that background knowledge. I think a lot of people appreciate the background knowledge, knowing that when they call, they can say, okay, these guys have been through it. They know what I'm handling. They know what I'm dealing with. And I think that goes a long way with the customer. And a lot of people just look at it as a customer relationship, a feed mill being a customer to the equipment supplier. But in this case, I think it's beneficial that we have that experience coming into it and we can relate to what they're dealing with.
It's also circular too, because Mule City buys from a lot of the farmers that Gaston Sealey sells parts and equipment to. So when Mason and I were looking over the customers, like, we know these guys, we know this farm, because that's where we're buying grains from. And that's really the story, I think, of North and South Carolina agriculture. It's, I grew up in California, and you think of agriculture in California, you think it either grows here or grows in Iowa, right? But we forget that North and South Carolina are combined would make for the 7th largest state in the union, in America, from an agricultural production perspective. Massive states here, and they're the largest outside of the Midwest or West Coast. So bringing some new eyes and new attention on North and South Carolina agriculture has been what's been exciting for me, especially just given the geography and the topography and what grows here. It's been pretty remarkable.
Yeah, that's a good point. So Mason, what producers do you serve in North and South Carolina, and what are they up against right now? So what are some of the challenges that they're looking to overcome?
Yeah, we serve a wide range. If we're looking at it from the feed mill side, we're handling corn, barley, oats, wheat, soybeans. We're doing some non-GMO products as well. So we're serving the farmers as far as buying. Here at Gaston Sealey, we're providing the equipment for them to continue operating. And then on the feed side, we're also making the livestock feed that they're using. So like Matt said, it's kind of a whole cycle between the two. We get to see all parts of it start to finish. And some of the challenges right now that I've seen is really the input costs. Right now it's pretty hard with diesel prices, fertilizer. And then you add in the drought. It's been a pretty tough start to the season, especially around here with the wheat harvest, wheat, oats, and barley around here where we're at. That's been the biggest challenge that I've seen recently.
Stacked on top of that, and I'm hoping what's happened recently geopolitically has really put a positive attention onto America's farmers from a national security perspective. I feel like as an outsider in agriculture, I didn't realize how important American farmers really were, right? Of course, you hear politicians say it all the time, and you hear politicians stumping in Iowa talking about the farmers, this and that. But when it actually starts getting dire, either because of input costs or droughts or whatever the challenge happens to be, is when the attention really gets to them. And I'm hopeful that what's going on now is putting some positive attention on American farmers, so that we can build better infrastructure and build better programs to support them, because frankly, they're feeding the world.
Exactly. So, Matt, what are you investing in? Are you do people, facilities, equipment, services? What should customers notice?
That's a great question. So in the feed mill business, it's a constant array of equipment challenges, because it's not easy to make feed. It sounds easy and it's very simple, but it's not easy. So it's a constant investment in new equipment, and it's very labor intensive. It reminds me of when I was in the beverage business. Beverage is very heavy, so it's expensive to ship, which means you can't really have a good business shipping it outside of the direct region that you're in. So on the feed side of things, another reason why I'm pretty excited about being in North Carolina is because so many of the grains grow within about 150 miles of our feed mill. So not only can we service farmers and animal owners within 150 miles, we can buy our inputs and buy our grains from within 150 miles. On the Gaston Sealey side, the thing that we're trying to invest in now is literal technology systems, but not technology systems just for the sake of adding tech, mostly just so we can improve the lives of our sales folks. We have a remarkable sales team, and we just want them to go out and sell, talk to new farmers, solve farmers' problems. And if we can get them tools to help them be better in front of farmers and better serve the farmers, that's what we're focused on. So that's where Mason and I have spent the early days in Gaston investing in.
So how do you modernize a legacy business without losing trust? I mean, that handshake is always so all important.
So a couple things. One is try not to go from 0 to 1,000, right? Try to just take incremental steps. That was the mistake that I made with Mule City. I tried to go from pieces of papers to AI tools, right? And that just might not be the best application. So with Gaston, trying to take those small incremental steps, and then also remembering that it is an in-person business. In fact, Mason thought he was going to be spending so much time down here in Fairmont, so much so that he wanted to buy land down here. And I said, dude, just wait till we buy this thing. You might find that you're not spending much time in Fairmont. And sure enough, he's realizing the most valuable time that he's spending is in the field with our sales folks, talking to our customers, seeing what's happening. And that's the other beautiful part about agriculture. It's not only different season to season, it's different week to week because of what Mother Nature brings us. Right? Like literally the story of agriculture changes by the hour. And that's just a remarkable business. I can't think of any other industry that works that way. Maybe airline pricing. But Mason has learned, and we've learned, we got to be out into the field. We have to continue to press palms, and also to speak the language our farmers want to speak. And if they don't want anything with bang from a tech perspective, then we need to meet them where they are. The tech tools that we want to bring are mostly just to help us better connect with them.
Mason, are there any new products, services, or capabilities on the way for Carolina producers? Anything you can talk about?
Well, that's what I was going to add to what Matt was saying. The incremental changes, we really want to follow what the customer needs. We want to follow what the farmers are asking for, what the sales guys are saying that the farmers need, what the grain elevators and feed mills are needing. And I think right now we're going to try working on better access to inventory. So just quick access to know what we have on hand. So you don't have to make a phone call if you're in a hurry. You know what we have in the warehouse. If you break down and need a part, you can get on our website and see if we have it, see how long it'll take to get it, see if it can be shipped direct to your door, that sort of thing. And nothing's set in stone yet. We're still sort of navigating the waters of what people want. We don't want to make changes that people don't necessarily want. But I think just in the first month that I've been here, it seems like people all across the board, between sales, feed mills, other dealers, everybody wants access to good inventory.
So, Velvet, what's your message to your customers about changes in ownership? Sure, you're getting a few questions here and there.
We are. Word has gotten out now, and people are beginning to call or stop us uptown on the street. And I just want to convey to all of the customers that we have serviced for so many years that we are continuing to be that way. Matt and Mason and their team. They're learning the business, but they know the business. If that makes sense to you, it's important to have the new ones to come in to change what we've been doing, to tweak what we've been doing, but at the same time maintain what we've been doing for 75 years. We've had a very successful business here, and we have fed a lot of employees' families, and that's what we are most proud of, is just being friends with our farming neighbors, and that we are hoping that this business will continue in that. If they will keep that in the forefront of their minds, I'm sure this will be a successful team as the Sealey family was.
I think Velvet's going to make you guys keep that in the forefront. I think she's there to see you through that process. So given that, Matt, where do you want Mule City and Gaston Sealey to be in 5 years? What would success look like for the farmers that you serve?
Well, success in 5 years would be, it's the 5th year of a 70+ year journey that we're going to have for these brands. In all seriousness, though, not really thinking that far ahead, just because it truly is seasonal. And I did make some mistakes of wanting to make leap years of vision on Mule City and try to take things so far into the future, when in reality, it's trying to learn the business in this first year or two, understand the farmers, understand agriculture, and then slowly evolve as the farmers pull those and tell us what they need out of it. But if I had to wave a magic wand in 5 years, I would say Mule City is continuing to service our 1,800 or so feed customers, and Gaston Sealey is continuing to service our 2,000 or so farmers that we've served over the last 75 years. And no one has even noticed that Velvet or Paul aren't owners of the business. And that would be a win to me, is if in 5 years from now, someone walked into Gaston Sealey and they said, "Who are these guys?" And they're pointing to me and Mason, and they're looking for Velvet or they're looking for Paul, and they didn't even know that the business had changed hands. That would be a win for us.
So what would be your message to North and South Carolina agriculture community about what you're building here?
Let's start doing some rain dances so we can get some rain. It's been a tough few months from a droughts perspective. And then secondly, let's just keep feeding Americans and show how valuable we are as a state. North and South Carolina combined, as I mentioned, make up the 7th biggest state in America from a size perspective. It's not just the Midwest or California anymore. Guys, a lot of food that goes into our mouths in America comes from North and South Carolina.
Mm-hmm. So, question for each of you. So I'll have Velvet, you go first. Final thoughts you want to leave our audience with here today?
I would just like to assure our customer base that if you have any questions whatsoever, to feel free and to call the company just like you always have, or come for a short visit. Meet these guys, see that they have your interest in their best heart, and just give them a chance. Give them a chance. They're going to do very well, and they're going to be able to help supply your needs.
So, Mason, your final thoughts?
I was going to say something very similar. I was going to say, feel free to always reach out to me, come in, talk to me in person, meet me. But also don't be afraid to come in and ask if you can pull up a chair and talk about what you don't like. If there's something that you want to see change in, come talk to me about it. Explain what you didn't like in the past, explain what you don't like currently, and talk about how we can change it, because we're here to serve our customers. We're here to serve our farmers. And I will happily sit and talk for an hour or more with somebody about changes that we can make that would better serve them.
So, Matt.
I guess I would say thank you to North and South Carolina for welcoming me as a New Yorker, or a Yankee, as they call me, as I come here often. I'm not from around here, but I recognize that I'm entering your home, and I've had to adjust my personality, my being, to be in the home of many of these farmers here in North and South Carolina. And it's been awesome for me. It's a way for me to have another experience that, not to sound crazy, is sort of godlike, right? You think about Book of Genesis and when we're tending to livestock and what God has left us to do from an agricultural perspective. And as I mentioned, our place in America. So my final thought is just thank you to North and South Carolinians for welcoming me into your home.
I'm not going to let you go quite yet because we have a question from the audience. They want to know they've purchased from Mule City before, and it's because of the custom blend small batches of rations that are made there. Are your plans to continue to do this? I don't know if Matt, you want to answer that?
1000%. And that's always a scary thing. It's funny, as a buyer of business, and I've acquired 14 or 50 of them over the course of the last 20 years. I'm always surprised at how many employees or customers think that the buyers want to make big changes for the worse, right? But recognizing what makes each business special, and in the instance of Mule City, what makes it special? Well, there's many things, but the primary thing that makes it special is the ability to do custom, bespoke feeds for each animal owner. In the instance of Gaston Sealey, what makes us special is our massive 140,000 square foot inventory of parts to get farmers running today. So no plans to change anything of what makes us special. Just want to make it a little bit better.
Just human nature. Everyone always assumes the worst, I think. So very good. Well, I want to thank you all for joining us here today, Matt, Mason, and Belva. We appreciate your time.
Cool. We're grateful for you giving us the coverage.
Thank you.
Likewise, we appreciate all of you in our audience for joining us. Until next time, for Feedstuffs, I'm Sarah Muirhead.